No, that
All right.
when we put you in the mix, we get a lot more viewers. Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Today, we have a very popular guest and a surprise guest, none other than Dr. John McDougall, but he's joined by his wife, Mary, and we always love when we have him on the show. We're so appreciative. He's they're both just my favorite people really in the whole world. And he's going to talk a little bit about some important things and also his new program. It's not really his new program, it's his program, but now thanks to the pandemic, you can do it from anywhere in the world. And we're even going to bring on two of the recent graduates to tell you how fabulous it is. Please welcome Dr. John and Mary McDougall. Always great to see you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, AJ. It's good to be here.
Nice to be here, AJ. You're right. The COVID-19, I know it's hurt a lot of people. You know, there's been a lot of death and disability and suffering and hunger and poverty and so on. And I mean, it's done a lot of terrible things, but it's reshaped our world to where it's so much more enjoyable for the participants, so much more enjoyable for the staff to, come into people's homes. And I don't know, I wanted to talk to you about some recent New York Times headlines. Maybe we should get into that first. See if I can share this with you. And I would like to put together a few things for you. How about that? Can you see that okay?
Let's see.
Yeah, the New York Times headlines.
Where is
AJ,
it?
do you see it all right?
I can't see anything. Can you go? Oh my God, where did it go?
Okay.
Let's stop share. Okay, there we go.
Do you
Got
see
it.
it?
Perfect. It's perfect now, Dr.
All
Mary.
right.
Okay.
Well, what I want to show you is the New York Times 2 days ago had this particular article questioning why in the world is the death rate from COVID-19 so rare in certain parts of the world and so common in other parts of the world. And if you look there, United States, Germany, France, Britain, these are the places in Europe and in the United States where we have a very high incidence of death from this particular disease. But even though the disease is prevalent in other countries, they wonder why in the world they have such a low incidence of dying. Well, if you look at these countries, Thailand, China, Indonesia, Vietnam, and African countries, in other words, the countries in the Far East and in Africa, they have a very low death rate from the COVID-19 virus. Well, the one way to explain that makes all the sense in the world is by the way people eat still. In Asian and African populations, you have people eating still a relatively healthy, low cholesterol, high starch diet, and they're dying at a much lower rate worldwide. And this was a paradox that the people in the New York Times could not figure out. It's because they don't understand the diet card. And of course, people are very threatened by the idea that diet has anything to do with health, climate change, or COVID-19. I mean, they'll do anything. They'll take vitamin D pills. They'll do anything but change their diet. And social distancing runs, so I guess, second as far as what people are willing to do. Now, I want to just take a little step here for your audience, AJ. And I don't want to cross any insensitive boundaries, but I want you to understand something else that's going on. And that is that people of color are at a much higher risk in the United States of hospitalizations, being required a mechanical ventilator, and dying than the white population or non-colored population of the US. Well, the common denominator is, again, the diet. If you look at Blacks, for example, they have the highest rate of high blood pressure of any subpopulation. Male Blacks have the highest rate of prostate cancer compared to any subgroup in the United States. A female age 40 has twice the risk of getting breast cancer if she's Black than a woman who's white. And obesity is much greater in the colored population. Well, this is because of the food. It's because the food that they're eating makes them sick and unable to defend themselves against anything. And so you have the highest rates of diabetes among the colored population. It's not because there's something wrong with skin color or genes or family history. It's because the colored in our country eat the worst diet of any population of people, and they're subsidized by by various food programs that are put on by the government, where they get the leftover rich food, the meats and the dairy and etc. And in addition, they're food deserts, so they can't get healthy food. It's the food. So next time somebody comes on and says, well, there's something wrong with colored people, which may be the interpretation that some bigoted people may take, you realize that it's an environmental issue. It's something that people do by choice isn't the right word. They're forced into this situation because of lack of education, opportunity, and so on. They're forced into a situation where they eat a diet that makes them suffer from chronic diseases like obesity, diabetes, cancer, etc. But it also puts them at high risk of getting serious complications of the COVID virus. And of course, Anthony Fauci, he's come on and told you that you don't get the serious manifestations of COVID if you don't have comorbid factors, which are obesity, diabetes, kidney disease, high blood pressure, heart disease, the things that are so common in the United States, so rare in Thailand, so relatively common in Canada, but there's a whole other issue going on there, and so rare in China and African countries and so on. It all makes sense if you take and look at the difference in the way people eat and the ultimate outcome. And I just don't know why anybody can't get it.
Well, even the food that they give away now in the food bank food,
yeah.
You notice when they put it in their cars, there's big half gallons of milk.
Oh, you mean the drive-thrus?
The drive-thrus.
Oh, yeah.
They give away the food that they're giving them to free to subsist on is bad food.
Well, maybe they'll get rid of that hundreds of thousands of pounds of cheese they have stored away. Don't know what to do with it. And they give it away, unfortunately. So there's a double insult to people who are less privileged, AJ. You add insult to injury with all the other problems that folks are having who are, quote, colored folks. It's just, you add the pandemic, epidemic locally as well as worldwide. It's just so unfair. Another incidence of racial discrimination, bias. Anyway, I just wanted to lead that. It's so clear to you for you to understand that there is a strong connection. Diet is one of the ways that you can save yourself in many ways. And of course, my new campaign, which is to save the planet by informing people of the importance of a good diet. Did I get a chance to talk to you about the Bill Gates interview, AJ?
No, not yet.
Well, you should have seen this. I was so shocked. Now, Bill Gates, I have to say, I've always admired the man for obvious reasons, even though I've had a lot of people come around me that have questioned, whether he should be listened to. I've always had a lot of respect for him. And he has a passion. He has a new book, and he has a passion about diet or about climate change. Not about diet. I take that back. About climate change. He's got this new book out. So he's appeared on CNN. He's appeared on Stephen Colbert. He's been on 60 Minutes. Well, he came on the 60 Minutes interview, and you can see this on YouTube. He came on the 60 Minutes interview and talked about how we should consider every possibility as far as saving the planet. No stone should go unturned. We have to consider everything. He gave a message of desperation. It's obviously he sees that we don't stand a chance, but halfway through the show, he's in the kitchen with the 60 Minute interviewer, and he's defending his cheeseburger, AJ. And he doesn't realize that you're right. We don't stand a chance. We can solve all of the fossil fuel problems. We don't have a chance unless we play the diet card. Over half the greenhouse gases are caused by the livestock industry. The Eat Lancet Commission says we can cut our greenhouse gas emissions in half if we change to a vegan diet. But Bill Gates can't see this. And even other people noticed this cheeseburger that he was defending on the 60 Minutes. It was on the 14th of February, I believe. Other people, and on Anderson Cooper on the CNN interview, if you watch the end of that interview, you'll see that Anderson Cooper challenged Bill Gates and say, aren't you a little upset about the vegans that have noticed that you were defending your cheeseburger? So, it's obvious to everybody. But AJ, it doesn't matter. You start with Al Gore. He still has never taken a front on the food, even though I believe he himself has turned vegan. And Greta Thunberg, she mentions that she's vegan and her dad's vegan and her mom's trying to be vegan, but she doesn't push it. Somehow the dinner table is a line that people won't cross. Politics, religion, and what's on your food plate But I can't believe that if Bill Gates knew or other people knew the impact that diet has and the only chance we have of saving the planet, I can't believe they'd continue to be deniers, especially after the big pitch that Bill Gates gave about how he would do anything to save the planet, except give up his cheeseburger. Anyway.
That's like saying I would do anything not to be an alcoholic, except quit drinking.
Good. I like that.
Anyway, thanks for giving me a chance to rant about that.
Yeah, I saw that article in the New York Times, and it was interesting.
Well, anyway, I wanted to, I get so passionate about different subjects, and my passion today is about diet and climate change. We have a whole mastermind series that you can find on YouTube under our channel. It's easy to find, where we do 12 lectures from the world's most important people on diet and climate change. And you can see those free on YouTube. And we're starting a whole new website on diet and climate change. And we'll be starting a marketing campaign to vegetarians and vegans, showing them those 12 lectures. So we're trying. In fact, I have to say our foundation has a new direction. It's a research and education foundation that we've had for almost 15 years. So a very well-established foundation. Collected lots of money. But of course, we need more. And the focus of our foundation, because it's diet and education, it's research and education. Education, what could be more important than to educate the world about a lost connection, an overlooked connection that's over half the problem, which is the darn food on your plate. It's eating the animals. Don't tell anybody. They got to stop eating the animals. And they got to get healthy, and they got to cut their food bill by 80%. And they got to make it abundant for food to feed the poor, or the least privileged in the world. Anyway, you want to talk about the clinic?
Sure, just a program. Yeah, absolutely, because I hear that this is a time for people to do it if they want to save a little bit, because the price is going to be going up in the
We're going to raise the price. We had an introductory price, which we felt that we could at least dip our feet into the water and see how it worked out. Well, it's been such a huge success, and Heather's got to put shoes on the kids, and very nice to have to buy rice and beans. So we've had to readjust the structure, because we do so much in this program. Dr. Lyle's there, Jeff Novick is there, Jack Dixon is there on our exercise program. We bring in comments from all over the world, chefs and so on.
Well, AJ was on too.
Oh yeah, AJ's on there too. We bring in the most talented people to come in and contribute. So we don't short on anything. And it's been an amazing experience. We started in August. We started with the introductory price, which was 1/3 of what our residential price was. And we're raising it by $500, but you can still get in on the original price of $2,500. I think those are the right numbers. They're close anyway. Yeah, you can still sign up for a program in the future, but it's going to change.
Well, it's so great, because we have 3 people that are graduates. We're going to bring them on very soon.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Yeah, and when we were talking before the show, one of them, Shelley, said, if this program wasn't online, I couldn't have done it. And so you're able to reach a lot more people, and plus even people that didn't mind traveling. I think it's just doing it in your own home. It's so much easier.
Well, they learn too. They learn while they're going through the program. They learn how to cook, instead of having to get all done with the program and then we send them home, and then they have to clean out their cupboards and buy all this new food and learn how to cook. This way they get to learn how to cook and eat while the program's going on, and it works much better.
Yeah, I love that part of it.
Yeah.
We do too. And the other thing is, I have to say, I don't know whether you have any actual segments from the show, but one of the segments that we show has the introduction that happens every morning with Mary and I in the group. We look forward to every day. We start out at 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific time with a live, very personal discussion with the participants. And we hold it only for 40 participants. So there's a limit on how many people we take. We feel we can have a very intimate discussion. And every morning for the whole 12 days, we have a chance to interact with people on a much more personal level than we ever did in a residential setting.
Yeah.
So, and people who go through have been through both programs, they make those comments. There's things you miss out on by not coming to Santa Rosa, like the food that we fixed you. But that's had a downside. You didn't learn how to fix the food yourself. Anyway, I would love to hear from some of our participants.
Absolutely.
I hope you segregated out only the ones that have good things to say about it.
Well, we didn't screen for them, but I sure hope so.
Oh, okay. Well, let's take a chance.
I sure hope so. But yeah, to me, just being able to see you guys every morning, that'd be fun. 12 days in a row.
It's fun for us too.
It's sort of like a fireside chat, where we really get to talk to the people, and they can ask us whatever they want to ask us. And it's just a nice personal talk that we have.
Like they ask us every program and every time we go on the show whether or not we're going to take the COVID-19 vaccine.
Right. Do you want to wait want to save that till the end of the show? I
want to save that to the end to keep people listening.
Right.
So they don't tune out.
You guys, we saw your question whether or not Dr. McDougall and Mary are going to take the vaccine, and we are going to answer that at the end of the show. But first, we're going to welcome. That's right. That's what they do. We're going to welcome Shelley, Pamela, and Thomas. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, we remember you guys. That's the one. Again, that's the one thing that's really nice about the telemarketing program or the televideo programs. We get a chance to really get to know people much better, remember their faces, their names, hear from them. But Dr. Lim, I'll tell you, he has so much fun with people. He sees the participants and stays with them the whole program. And you wouldn't get him to go back. I think even though he lives 2 blocks from our resort, that's where his home is. I don't think we could get him to walk over to the resort, considering what he's experienced in the telemedicine part. He's just in heaven. Where else can you take care of people and take care of their needs every minute? If your blood sugar goes up or down, or they have a question, Dr. Lim and the rest of the staff is there to help them for the whole time.
Right. So which one do you want to go first? I see just on my Zoom, I see Shelley first. So Shelley, why don't you tell us about the program and what you got out of it?
Oh, I love the McDougall program. And if anybody is intimidated about the price, I did think about that. And then once you're in the program, that just goes away. It is worth every penny and more. And I was tired of systems where you'd walk in and you felt sick when you wanted to do all the things to make you healthy. And the McDougall program embraces that. You walk into an environment where you think not only just what you eat, your health, but mentally. And a lot of people don't think about that, but you meet with such remarkable staff. And as Dr. McDougall said, they have an amazing, talented team. Jack in the exercise, in just one example there, I now have a rowing machine. I never rowed in my life, and I'm rowing and I actually have muscles, and it's fun. And he taught us how to do that. The people there, Dr. Lim spent an hour and a half with me on the initial intake appointment, and it was just every single person in the McDougall program, they care about you. They listen to your questions, they listen to your concerns, and it's brought results. They worked with my goals, and I met every single one of my goals, and I love the program. I want to sign up again this year.
We have a lot of people that do it twice or more than once anyway, sometimes 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, we're having a lot of people sign up who went through the residential program. And every time, I have to tell you, every single response, and we look for, the differences so we can improve. And every single response has been the telemedicine program is much better. We were lacking a little bit, and we corrected that this program. I don't know whether anybody was in the latest program, but we corrected it or tried to correct it. And one of the things we lacked was a personal interaction. So the way we help solve this, and in fact, I think we solved it in a big way, is we have people get together in the morning Pacific time, but it could be the evening in Hong Kong, and we have people from all over the world. And what they do is they get together and meet each other and have very intimate and very, very uplifting and encouraging talks between each other. It's a time when the staff is not involved. So
it's kind of like an open room on Zoom where they can go and
eat breakfast if they haven't been in the Pacific Coast.
Yeah.
So it's really helped solve one of the things that we didn't see as a possibility, which is going into breakfast, lunch, and dinner at our resort and sitting down with people and meeting new people. But by having this particular room set up at least once a day, we've solved that. People
Yeah.
are just amazed at how much encouragement it's been to meet other folks from around the world. And you meet 40 other people.
That sounds like fun. Shelley, did you have any disease processes that you were trying to reverse through the program?
Yes, I have been whole food plant-based for a very long time. And when I go to my family doctor, your cholesterol and your LDL is good. No, it wasn't. It wasn't where I wanted it to be. It was close to 200, and my LDL was 110. And I thought, that's not where I want to be. That's not how I eat. And so I learned through the program that for me, I had to get rid of the sugar, the SOS, sugar, oil, and salt. And it brought all my levels down to below 80, below 150 for my cholesterol. And on the McDougall program, I eat so much that, in fact, I have to eat a lot. I eat a lot of food because you will lose weight. I'm tiny, but I lost 9 pounds on the program. And I'm at my weight when I think I was 18 or 19. Like Dr. McDougall said, that's a good weight. So the food is plentiful. The food is fresh. The food is delicious. And I am never hungry.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for somebody that's hungry? Because it's funny, I got this email today from somebody that's like, she goes, well, I ate 2 sweet potatoes, a cup of oatmeal, and some asparagus, and I'm starving. Eat more.
Eat more starch.
Yeah, eat more starch. Exactly.
Yeah.
Starch.
You know,
A big
that's
potato with mashed beans, the refried beans without oil or salt is delicious. That'll fill you up.
I don't know, AJ, I'd like to ask you, you of course bought into the starch message several years ago. I mean, do you think that the emphasis that I put on starch is doing more harm than good?
No, I don't think it's doing any harm at all. I just think people need to eat a little bit of vegetables and fruit with it, not just all starch, but mostly starch. Starch by calories, for sure. Starch-based by calories.
Right. And you're hoping all those extra nutrients will somehow drive your engine to even better health, right?
No, Dr. McDougall, we never got a chance to discuss this, but one of the things that I deal with specifically is food addiction. And there is this compound in green vegetables called thylakoids that do something. They turn off your cravings for sugar. So that's why I like people to have a little bit of greens. But most of my diet is starch. I eat way more starch by pounds and calories, but I do think including a little bit of green vegetables is really beneficial for people that suffer with sugar cravings with their potatoes.
You're no longer doing half your diet as green and yellow.
Oh my God, are you kidding? Maybe when I was in weight loss mode, but it's no way. I would be too thin if I did. If I wanted to be thinner, I would do that. But no, I would take too much weight off if I ate more vegetables than starch. When I was losing weight, I was doing that as the technique that you describe in your Maximum Weight Loss book. You describe it as hasty, having half the plate green vegetables. But no, I would say my lunch is 1.5 pounds of sweet potatoes and maybe 12 ounces of broccoli. So way more starch than vegetables.
Oh, that sounds good. That's one of my favorite meals.
Yeah. So no, I would say by calories, I'm probably 2/3 starch and 1/3 fruit and vegetables.
I think that's the one deciding difference that I would like other people to come friendly to, is the idea that you need to eat a starch-based diet, just like the Asian countries I was talking to you about in the beginning, or the African countries. Starch, corn or rice or potatoes or whatever, starch is the center of their meal. And likewise, the COVID-19 message I tried to give you, the way you cure the comorbid factors. And we've proven without a doubt you can cure diabetes, always type 2 diabetes. We've proven you can cure heart disease, constipation, ulcerative colitis, rheumatoid arthritis. The cure is a diet based on starch, because the same thing, you look at these populations. In Japan, for example, they didn't have any cases of multiple sclerosis post-World War II. My friend Roy Swank went to China in the late 1970s, early 1980s. He was invited by the Chinese government to look at the cases of multiple sclerosis in China. He told me they brought out 5 cases in the entire country. And he wasn't sure any of the 5 really had multiple sclerosis. The same thing in Africa. I mean, rheumatoid arthritis, heart disease, type 2 diabetes did not exist in rural Africa 20 years ago. and they abandoned their starch-based diet. That's the sad part.
You said once that starch is to the hunger drive like oxygen is to breathing. And I believe that. No starch, no satiety.
No.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That was some nice comments about our program.
Yeah, well, we have more. So Tom, who's in Hawaii, why don't you tell us about your experience?
Well, I can say there's been certainly some benefits from COVID. One was, as Dr. McDougall mentioned, he decided to put the class online. And then the other benefit, certainly from my own perspective, is that I was able to take the class and not travel. And I had already taken his class about 10 years ago. And I can say that the online class is, 1,000 times better. I either was asleep during that initial class or not there the whole time, because it seems like I missed portions of the class that were important that I got completely at the online class. And I think that this whole idea requires a mindset shift, and it's really too simplistic to categorize it as vegan or vegetarian, because and I've always said, when people have asked me, I've said, absolutely, I'm not a vegan, because I'm using Worcestershire sauce that's got anchovies in it. So I couldn't possibly be a vegan. But I think of it more as a medical diet. And again, the COVID had me worried because of the comorbidities and the higher incidence of death when you have comorbidities like blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, obesity. And so I was all of those things. And I'm like, okay, I got to do the online class. I fell off the wagon. Three of the wheels came off the cart, and I need to fix this. And so I started the class on September 11th. So it's coming up on about 6 months, and I've lost about 60 pounds, which I didn't think was possible in that short a time frame. And I've run the Boston Marathon 8 times, and in December, the other thing that I did was I started running outside because of COVID, because I didn't want to be around people, which becomes a problem in Alaska because it's about 5 below zero. And so it requires studded running shoes and all sorts of specialized clothing and equipment to stay warm. But I managed to do that, and I noticed my time, as my weight was decreasing and my health was increasing, my time was increasing, even though I wasn't trying to get faster. And I was like, by gosh, I could run the Boston Marathon again. And I thought I had aged out of it, which wasn't the case at all, because I'm running faster now than I did 12 years ago. And they just sent an email and said they've scheduled it for an in-person Boston Marathon on October 11th. So I'm starting my training program this weekend. It's about a 30-week training program. And so, yes, this plan that Dr. McDougall has pioneered, it can address obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, kidney problems, cholesterol. I had one of everything, and now I don't have anything. So I've kind of disappointed my physicians, and they're astonished and can't understand it and think that I'm hungry. And yet I'm thinking I'm eating too much, but I'm still losing weight. And so it's kind of an experiment at this point to see, well, what should my weight be? And I know during the class, Dr. McDougall said, well, I'm over 6 feet tall and I weigh only 135 pounds. And I was like, well, that could never happen to me. And yet it seems like that's what's going to happen. So
Sorry about that.
and I know when I worked with a hospital-based nutritionist 12 years ago, and I lost some weight. She kind of freaked out and said, "Oh my gosh, you need to start eating peanut butter. You're not getting enough fat." And so I know that was one of my questions during the class was, on this program, can you get enough fat? And the answer is absolutely, because how else can I be running and swimming and biking and doing everything else that I'm doing, and not have enough nutrients? And so, and Dr. McDougall has plenty of prior participants who have run marathons and exercised really a lot and still been able to eat this way. And in fact, this is what I bring up to people when they say, well, how is it possible to have enough protein or enough vitamins or enough nutrients on this diet? And I give them the example of, okay, who is winning the Boston Marathon? It's the people coming from Africa who eat the same diet as this. And there must be enough nutrients because they not only run 26 miles, but they're averaging about 13 miles an hour and doing it in about 2 hours and beating everybody else who isn't eating that way. And so how is it possible? And then it's interesting because because they've been taught the American diet by both the government and industry, they've been brainwashed, and to the point where when you give them the proof, they can't accept it, so they just shut down. They can't say anything. And it's kind of funny to watch, but in fact, I've had patients come in to see me and tell me that the keto diet is the approach to deal with diabetes, even though it can't cure diabetes. I don't know. And then they kind of trail off, and like I'm sitting right in front of them and showing them the proof. And I have patients coming in saying, well, you've either have cancer or you've had gastric bypass surgery. Which is it, Tom? And it's like, no, it's neither of those. I just changed what I was eating. And I'm actually eating more. And it just blows their mind. So it's still, I was brainwashed. I was part of the mass too. So now I'm unbrainwashed, but I still have that piece in my head. So I have to laugh about it and say, well, there's a vestige of a brainwashing there. So, but I have to overcome it by saying it's not true. It can't be true because I'm looking at myself and saying, if it was true, I wouldn't be able to do this. How could I get this healthy and not take any prescriptions and not really need to see a physician on a regular basis? How is any of that possible but for the fact that I changed what I was eating? And the physicians could only offer multiple prescriptions and question the idea that you could change your health by changing what you were eating.
Tom, let me interject an athletic here because I think you'll enjoy this. Back in the 1990s, I went on a show called Twin City Live, which is in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And in the green room was a very famous athlete. And he told me, he says, I can't run. I can't do my exercise by going on any diet because I lose my strength. Could you help me? And I explained to Carl Lewis that all he had to do was to eat our diet. He would do great. Well, he listened to me very carefully. He set the 100-meter, Carl Lewis, the fastest man in the world, set the 100-meter dash on the McDougall program. Runner's World has a whole article about it. It's dated, but you can look it up. He set the world record for 3 long jumps on the McDougall diet, and he won 3 medleys, gold medal medleys on our diet. And half the Santa Monica track team went on our diet when Carl did. And as you say, the winners now are the Ethiopians and the people from Kenya who have a diet that's 80% corn. I don't know, maybe some of the athletes are getting it. I think they are. But as you say, Tom, there's a tremendous bias there they have to overcome.
Yes. And I mean, I have people ask me, how did you do it? And I say, well, go to the McDougall's website. I have a lot of respect for Dr. McDougall. He has the whole program for free on his website. But I would recommend that you if you can afford it, take the in-person online, not the in-person, but the online program, which is better than the in-person, having done both, and spend a little bit of money. And I've told quite a few people, maybe 1%, 1/10 of 1% might do it, is what I would expect, because it's that mindset shift. It's not the doing it, it's the mindset shift that has to happen. And the belief that to give the mindset an opportunity to test it, as Dr. McDougall said, give it 4 months. And if you don't see anything improve in 4 months, then maybe it's not for you, but that doesn't seem possible. The other thing that's nice is all the books that Dr. McDougall has written are still timely. And I'm looking back at books that are, 30, 40 years old at least, and it's still the same message. So this message hasn't changed. And it's difficult to come up with someone who is basically saying the same thing over a 40-year time frame that they haven't changed and completely done a 180 on. And so I think that lends credibility to it too. So,
well, Tom, I date our history back to the controlled trial that was done by Daniel. And Daniel, in the Bible, he talks about how his men lived on the McDougall diet for 10 days, by the way. We run a 12-day program now. Daniel would approve, I think. But the men were described as more energetic, healthier, trimmer, better complexion, and so on. You can look at in the Bible. So it's nothing new. The truth does not change. And that's basically, I was fortunate enough, Mary and I, to about half a century ago, to learn the basics, the truth. It wasn't easy back then because everybody knew differently. But now the world's changed. I have to say, your friends may not be listening today, Tom, but they're listening. So thank you for sharing so much with us. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and
yes,
congratulations, Tom. 60 pounds is amazing. And I don't know if you can see the chat, but people are saying you can now buy vegan Worcestershire sauce, a brand called Robbie's.
Tom brought his whole family to our program about 10 years ago. Also, you've been twice, haven't you, Tom, live?
I went once, and I was thinking about going back, but then I realized you guys switched to the online program.
Now you can.
And I didn't think I said, well, they don't have the in-person, and it can't possibly be as good as the in-person. But what the heck? It's better than nothing or waiting. So
we'll let you take that call, Tom.
Oh no, it's okay. This is more important. But at any rate, it's been, I think during the class, when they said, how would you rate the class, on a scale of 1 to 10, I said maybe 100. I don't know. So it's just it's good. It hits everything that I needed. I needed to be normal cholesterol, normal blood pressure, and get rid of all the issues that you can. And that happened relatively quickly. And then, like I said, I thought it would take maybe 1 to 2 years to lose this much weight, and it's happened in 6 months. So, and then some people say, well, but you can't possibly want to lose more. And I'm like, well, it is what it is. I don't know. At this point, when I was in high school, I weighed between 125 and 135, and now I weigh 160. So from that standpoint, I'm still a little bit on the heavy side. So it's all relative. I don't know. I don't know what I should be.
Tom, I assure you, when the stomach matches the hunger drive, matches your athletic activities, it'll all stop. It'll be just what it should be, and your bones haven't grown since you've been 18. Again, I'm so happy to hear your progress, Tom. That's amazing.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough. And when I used a weight loss program before that was hospital-based, like I said, the nutritionists were not as informed as the medical doctors and the advanced training nutritionists that Dr. McDougall has. And I was on a calorie counting, and it's interesting to compare, because with calorie counting, I was hungry. And And with this, as you mentioned, the starch does control the hunger. And I think that's the key to the whole thing. And I'm eating like a ton of potatoes, and yet I still have people telling me that there is absolutely no way you can lose any weight if you eat potatoes. And I'm like, well, if I eat 10 potatoes a day for 300, I don't know, that's like 3,000 potatoes a year. That's a lot of potatoes. And so, and yet I can still lose weight. So then they shut down right in front of you. They'll shut down and they won't say anything. They won't process it because it creates a cognitive dissonance.
Keep trying, Tom. You'll eventually convince somebody. Even if it's only 1 out of 10 people, at least you help 1 out of 10 people. And right now they're not being helped. Very interesting, Tom. And I wish we could visit you in Hawaii.
Yeah, that'd be great. Then you could fine tune my approach to this whole thing.
I think you got it, Tom. I really think you got it.
Oh, that's the other thing is, I've been following up with Corey, and she has helped me fine tune. And so I have even beyond the initial switch over, I've fine tuned. And then I think I remember what you said during the class, which was that you, if you want big results, you have to go into it big. So if you just do a little bit of it, you're going to get maybe a little result. But if you do the whole program, then you're going to get the big results. And then why cheat yourself? So
well, you mentioned something that's really important about the new program, and that is every morning, either Corey or Tiffany come into your home during the program and help you plan the day, check your blood sugar, your blood pressure, your cholesterol. So you get almost all day long support. Certainly you could have it if you needed it. And that's been one of the advantages of the telemedicine program is we have people.
They're called support specialists, and they follow people along as they go. And every day you check in with your support specialist.
And they check in with them for 3 months afterwards?
Yeah.
And then Mary and I and Heather would check in with you for a year. Well, thank you, Tom.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough. It's been great. I'm continuing to work with Corey beyond the 3 months.
Yeah.
She yells at me periodically to keep me going in the right direction.
We'll support you for the rest of your life. We offer ongoing support for people, and there are people who need it and can afford it. But usually by 12 days, pretty much everybody's got it, as you did. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you so much, Tom. Congratulations. People are saying what an inspiration you are. And guys, the next program starts April 9th, which is my wedding anniversary for some reason. And I'm posting the link if you want to join at the introductory discounted price before it goes up. And so we have one other recent graduate. Pamela, would you like to come and tell us about your experience on the online program?
Absolutely. Hello, Chef. It's very nice meeting you up close and personal. And to those two people that I refer to as the dynamic duo, Dr. McDougall and Mary, I just graduated last Tuesday. So this feels so comfortable to see the two of you in your normal habitat. I come from a military background. I spent more than 26 years on active duty, and then I stayed in aviation and transitioned to the corporate level. So I learned to be brief and be seated. So I jotted down 3 things that I wanted to highlight with the background of your journey and time. When I was a little girl, if I did something wrong, I wanted a lot of time to go by so that it would be covered up. Well, after listening to Tom and to Shelley and to others, I want the time to go by fast, but I want to enjoy every minute of it because I'm looking forward to seeing similar results. From the 19th of February until just last Tuesday, I dropped more than 6 pounds. And since that time, I've dropped even more. And Dr. McDougall, I want you to know that I was the one that asked if we could have some kind of camaraderie, and the morning breakfast session was put on because of that ask. We have our first session at 6:30 tonight Central Time with that same group of people that join together every morning. So we're continuing it. We've made it a habit. Yes. So because Dr. McDougall mentioned Daniel as the original purveyor of this kind of eating, I want to tell you that I trust my Lord and Savior. But right after Jesus, I trust the McDougalls. I trust what they've told me to do. I trust that if I follow it, I'm going to have the kinds of results that other people are reporting. And I made a mistake after I attended in 2017 in person. And I listened to someone who had those initials behind their name tell me that I wasn't getting enough protein. And that was the beginning of my undoing. I'm sold out now. I'm a potato kind of girl. And if it's not potatoes, then it's rice and it's corn. And I love beans, so I eat them almost every day. And the vegetables are just kind of a come along to get along. The other point I wanted to make is behavior. I so enjoyed Dr. Lyle's presentations. I mean, the man is a graphic artist, okay? and with his sense of humor, when he started talking about the dopamine, well, the dopamine response has shut down in me because I'm so satiated with the starches that the sugar, the overwhelming craving for sugar has just gone away. But you know what? I'm not surprised because that's what you told me would happen.
Yeah, I've been at this for a while.
Yeah, I think so. I had always wanted to come to your program in person, which I did in 2017. I don't know if you remember, you made some little cassette tapes that had your program maybe 30 years ago. Oh, yeah, I have those. Okay. That's how far back we go. I lived in Honolulu.
Oh, okay.
But I was unable to do anything with you when I was in that part of my life's journey. So I'm so happy that I did the second session. The food is not a problem for me. My issues are behavioral. I can be an emotional eater, but thanks to Dr. Lyle's lectures that I play over and over and over again, that's a real benefit of the program, that you can go back and look at things. And I had my 2017 notebook that I followed everything with. So a lot has changed in terms of the format, but there's not a lot that's changed in terms of the content. And so I've been talking to my daughters about changing their habits, and their girlfriends about changing their habits. I don't have any converts yet. I've gotten my older daughter to eat potatoes this week. She hasn't yet to give me a report on her satiety, but I think she's going to be surprised. Dr. Lim, unbelievable. Jeff Novick, I mean, he's the guru for the template, and all you have to do is follow it. I have bought palmy tomatoes from Amazon, and I had them yesterday with brown rice and quinoa, and it was absolutely fabulous. So this is a wonderful, wonderful program. And the fact that you give so much of this away for free. If I were recruiting for you, I think I would tell people, bite the bullet, take a chance. It's 12 days. You'll be amazed at the difference that it makes. And thank you for the difference that it's made in me.
Well, thank you. And thank you for telling me about that set of tapes, because I lost all of my tapes in the fire. So maybe I can
have them
and send me a copy, and we'll put them up on the internet for free. Like we do.
Okay.
We put all our information on our website for free. And even though you've heard about people who've been able to afford the time and the money to come to the program during this hour, I just want you to know everything is free on the website, including the program, including the articles, including everything. So you could do it yourself for no charge at all. But as mentioned, having the experience is what it's all about. That's what really helps you change. So you took the program in 2017. You listened to me 30 years ago on tape, and now you're doing really good. And I'm very happy.
Yes.
And,
yes.
And we try and improve every time. The addition of what you suggested, the morning get together, has been really, really a plus. It's taken care of the one gap that I was worried about in the program, and that is that people not getting to know each other. But we finally figured it out, thanks to you and your help. Thank you.
Dr. McDougall, don't you think after at 40 years of teaching this stuff, or maybe 50 even, that, because I'm watching the chat, I don't know if you guys can see the chat, but people are saying, oh, well, I can't eat carbs. My doctor said to go low carb. People are still afraid to eat potatoes and rice, but they're not afraid to eat animal products, oils, peanut butter, and processed food.
Well, that's the education we've gotten our whole life. And I was raised that way too. The most important nutrients were calcium and protein. The most important foods were meat and dairy. I mean, that's what the industry did to us. They brainwashed us, told us something that was completely opposite of being true. And if you have to find out what the truth is, I mean, open your eyes and look around the world still. You can see that countries where they eat starch-based diets, like Asia, rice and corn and millet in Africa, and potatoes in South America, you're looking at populations of people that don't have the diseases that are common to Americans. You compare Peru, for example, with the United States, they have a health picture that's similar to what we had 100 years ago. In other words, we died of infectious diseases 100 years ago. And that's what the Peruvians die of now. And they're potato eaters. That's, of course, changing rapidly. So you can verify for yourself by, a little history, a little geography, look around the world. You can take, classic writings like the Bible. I think is very impressive. I'm not one to push in any way religion, but I think most people believing so strongly as they do in the Bible, they have it clearly stated in a controlled trial, it's not double blind, but you can't double blind diets. A controlled trial, they proved. If it wasn't true, they'd have kicked it out of the Bible, folks. They proved that the McDougall diet is what you ought to do. They call it a diet of pulses and water. We call it a starch-based diet, same thing. Okay, I copied it. I copied the diet from Daniel. You got it. You caught me.
Dr. McDougall, so many people watching saying, well, I'd eat this way, but my family doesn't support me. My husband, I have to cook 2 meals. How do you educate the participants in this area?
Well,
Mary, you're off screen a little bit.
oh, okay. What we do is we try to show them. Wait,
Get closer to the handsome doctor.
Get over here.
Here, I'll
Okay.
just move the camera that with you.
Thank you.
There we go.
We try to teach people how to make the starch-based meal plan work for them, and then have their family add other things on the side. And so they're sort of still, they're cooking one meal, and then the rest of the family can add things like, bean burritos. You can, if you make a meal of beans, you can have all the other things on the side, and everybody makes their own. Or you can do the same thing with pasta or with rice. And so they can add their own. And a lot of people have said, I do this, and my family actually changes with me as I go. They think they needed this, but then they find out that the food tastes so good that they don't want to eat the other stuff anymore.
Yeah, you just tell them, you say, I made a rice and vegetable dish along with chicken, but I ran out of the chicken. So you're going to have to eat the rice and vegetable dish. Or you can have the bean burritos, but there's no ground hamburger left. So you'll have to eat the bean burritos just the way they were. They're in the refrigerator. Go eat them. Most family members are so lazy, they'll eat whatever's available. You just have to make it available. In other words, Mary's telling you a system where you can put our food as the dominant food in the house, just make their food as a side dish. You want cheese? We'll put it in a bowl for you on the side.
That's great. People are saying I do Mary's Mini. That's a good. Did you invent Mary's Mini, Mary? Because I love it. That's just, I like it because it's just so easy.
Well, John and I did it together. And we just called it Mary's Mini because it just sort of, it fit. So we had to give it a name. So that was kind of cute. So so I didn't really invent it myself. We did it together.
like everything else, we've done it together the last 50 years.
Yeah, because otherwise you'd have to call it Johnny's Junior or something like that.
Johnny's restrictive diet.
Oh, that doesn't sound nearly as nice.
You want to remember what it feels like to be in pain on typical diets? Well, you can follow the Mary's Mini diet. That'll show you. Not really, because we don't restrict the amount you eat, only restrict the kind of food you choose. That's it. You can eat. You can eat till, you can eat. I have people come in and see me. They say, I have an eating disorder, doc. You don't know me. I have an eating disorder. Well, when I think of them, I think their eating disorder has nothing to do with them. They're just trying to answer their hunger drive with the wrong kind of food. And they think that's a disorder. It's the food that's the problem. So I've had people say to you, look, if I put you put potatoes in front of me, I'll eat myself to death, into obesity. And I'll say, okay, I'll get you a bushel basket full of potatoes and I'll even cook them for you. You can eat them all day long. Nobody would take me up on the challenge, but if they ever did, they'd lose all the weight. They won't have a chance. Have you had Andrew Taylor on?
I did. It's probably time to have him again. It's been about a year, but yes.
Interesting guy. He does Spud Fit. And he's a guy who's lost over 100 pounds just eating potatoes. He couldn't psychologically get around the variety that we were teaching. And some people have that problem. They psychologically, it's just too much. And then they figure out you can live on potatoes and water alone. No vegetables.
So he kind of did Mary's Mini for a whole year.
Yeah, because Charlie's saying, can you do Mary's Mini for a long time? I say every lunch is Mary's. I mean, I haven't changed my lunch in 10 years. Because it's just, you don't have to have decision fatigue then. You just know what you're eating every day.
Yeah.
Nice.
That makes it easy. And AJ, considering how life has gone for us, we're in our mid 70s. And, we limited our shopping and so on. How life has gone for us. We basically follow Mary's Mini diet ourselves, in the sense that we have so little variety. Some of you would be put off by the fact that we eat such a simple diet. Others would find it very attractive to eat the simplicity that we do. But Mary has 4,000 recipes published, so you don't have to make it simple. But every morning I'm the cook.
Yeah, he cooks breakfast every morning.
I can boil oatmeal and make it right every time. Believe me, and a little fruit on it. I make that every morning for breakfast, and then for lunch and dinner we have the same things. Mary made some potato soup at the beginning of the week, and we had potato soup and bread. And we've had bean burritos once this week.
And we had sweet potatoes with broccoli.
Oh yeah, sweet potatoes and broccoli, just like you said, AJ, or somebody said.
It's one of our favorite meals is sweet potatoes and broccoli.
Oh,
that's what I eat every day for lunch. It's so good, and it's not a punishment. I eat it because what you eat today, you crave tomorrow, and that's my favorite meal.
Yeah, ours too.
And we've also recommended that you find some of your favorite sauces, preferably low fat, and you use a little salt and a little simple sugar on your food if you choose on the surface. It really is the tastiest meal plan that you can imagine. It's just a matter of the adjustment. But boy, oh boy, I can remember the day when I couldn't imagine giving up my meat and dairy. I almost killed myself in the process.
Wow.
Well, unfortunately, that's the way too many people feel. They can't get past the food on their plate to think about anything else.
Well, as I said, Bill Gates is suffering from this problem. Here's one of the smartest, certainly one of the richest people in the world, and he can't get beyond his own dinner plate. It's sad. I say this and I tell you this because maybe some of you know Bill Gates, and you can somehow sneak in his back door and tell him they ought to be listening to the McDougalls, because the element that he is missing is the food. No matter how much he thinks we're in horrible trouble, no matter how much he thinks that the planet is past the point of being saved, he doesn't understand the food card. We can save it, but we've got to take the necessary steps, which is people have to give up the foods that are killing them. Isn't that something tough? You have to give up the foods that cause heart disease, colon cancer, type 2 diabetes. That's what you're being asked to give up to save the planet. I don't know. It's amazing. If I live long enough, I don't know that I'll ever see it. People come to sanity. Stop the insanity, folks. I don't know that I'll ever see it, but it's where we have to go.
Well, you better live a lot longer, because I just interviewed. You remember Ruth Heydrich?
Yeah, she's great.
I mean, she's amazing. I just interviewed her last week, and she's still running. She's eating your diet. She's 86, stage 4 breast cancer, gone. I mean, come on.
I saw her when she was 48. She walked into my office. I was in my mid 20s. And she walked in and she says, I got some good news and bad news. The good news is I got rid of a bad husband after 12 years. The good news, that's the good news. I got rid of a bad husband after 12 years. The bad news is I got breast cancer all over my body. And I said, Ruth, just sit in my office and read what I'm reading, because I wasn't even at a stage where I would recommend a healthy diet. somebody had cancer. So Ruth sat in the office for a couple of days at least, read the research that I'd pulled out on diet and breast cancer. She says, it makes sense to me. And she changed her diet, and,
And never
history
looked
speaks.
back. Yeah.
It's been, let's see, she was 48. You say she's 86 now. So what is that, 50 years? 40 years?
Wow.
40, yeah. Anyway, she's doing really well. I hope to live that long too. I have to say I didn't have that rough a start. All I had was a stroke and obesity, and so I didn't have breast cancer. I had a lot of problems to reverse when I was a young man.
Well, I think you guys are looking great. Now, did you want to answer the question of the hour that it's going to cause a nice big fight, but that's okay?
I could, especially after you told me that our good friend Cottle Esselstyn, he got a picture of him getting the vaccination, and he got a bunch of negative response from it.
It wasn't even just that it was negative, Dr. McDougall, because I think you can disagree with people and still be respectful. But I mean, we're talking people were spewing hate and venom at this icon. And it's like, I mean, who does that? Well, I guess people on social media. But everybody, we really didn't have a lot of time for questions today because we brought on graduates, but I want to announce some really good news. My birthday is in, I think, 13 days, March 22nd. It's also Heather McDougall's birthday. And my 1-year anniversary of the show is March 21st. So I have two very special guests those few days, but guess who's going to come on my birthday, guys? Dr. McDougall. So he's going to come back. So if we didn't get to your question today, maybe Mary will join him. But the question that seems to be on everybody's mind is, are Dr. McDougall and Mary going to take the COVID vaccine?
Yes, we are. As soon as it becomes available to us, we'll take either one of them. And the reason is because the CDC came out yesterday and made a statement that it'd be impossible for grandparents to resist. And that is, once you become vaccinated, they will give us permission, which I think I need. I need to be told it's okay. We haven't been with our grandchildren for a year now. And some of our grandchildren live no more than 10 miles away from us. So we see them outside with masks on. But, this gets old. And so even though we practice social distancing, we're very careful about where we go. And we certainly don't go to any events. Even though we eat a diet that I believe will keep you from having serious complications of COVID, I certainly don't want to be the first bad example of how Dr. McDougall's advice doesn't work. I want to take that extra protection. And when we do, we're going to start having the grandkids over. And we'll be hugging them, and we'll travel down to San Francisco area to see our other 5 grandkids. So yes, we want that. Now, do I have reservations? Yes, I do. The reservations are that there are all these new variants coming out. And I fear, even by the time we get our vaccination, which will probably be in a month or two, because of the way Oregon's going, it's really slow.
Yeah, Oregon is very mixed up.
I fear that it'll be another dominant virus, which won't offer protection from the current vaccines. And so does everybody else. If you listen to the experts around the world, that's what they're trying to tell you, is this is going to be like the flu. It's going to have a genetic variation that is so frequent, in this case, because the virus is so plentiful, that it's just natural for these gene variations to occur. We're going to have new viruses so quickly that it'll be hard to keep up with vaccines that apply to the current virus, whether it be the African virus, whether it be the English virus, whether it be the Brazilian virus. These covariants are new viruses, and they will take new vaccines. So that worries me as much as anything, that I will be in a situation where the vaccine that we finally get really doesn't protect us from the predominant strain, or a strain that is real. The other thing is there are side effects of these vaccines, and they're not talking about them. Particularly the second shot you get. I've had a lot of people, including family members, who've gotten the shot, who say, the second shot is pretty tough. And there have to be some people that are being hurt significantly by side effects from the vaccine. It's just, statistically, if you're going to put the shot in 330 million Americans, which is what they're going to do, and 7 billion people around the planet, you've got to plan on there being some people who have serious adverse effects. It's just being unrealistic for a medicine to be so wonderful and have no adverse effects. So some people are going to be hurt by the vaccine, but overall, our desire, even if it's just peace of mind, for even if it's for a week, I have peace of mind at seeing my grandkids and Mary holding her grandsons on her lap. We're going to do it. Yes, we are. Without reservation, without hesitation.
Well, just don't post a picture on Instagram then. 'Cause
Oh.
Don't do that.
Hey, maybe AJ, how about if I give a shot in my butt?
that you can post. That we would love.
Then they'll be so excited about the attractiveness of my two cheeks that they won't even notice the shot going.
Yes.
Dr. McDougall,
I would do that. You know, I would do that. I would take off all my clothes, put carrots in my ears, and scream, "Eat starch!" if you'd listen.
Well, we want you to take your shirt off to see if there really is that tattoo that says, "Do not stent, I will sue."
Yeah, do not calf. I will
Do not calf, I will sue.
Yeah. Well,
uh,
well, I will show you that. Also, my two grandsons, they had similar tattoos done, and they were 8 and 10 years old. So,
Dr. McDougall, I was going to say, both my wife and myself have gotten both of the Moderna shots.
Yeah.
And I looked at the statistics, and I think on the Moderna, it said if you're over 65 after the first injection, you're protected 86.2%. And then my whole office got the second injection, and neither my wife nor myself had any significant side effects from the second injection, but everybody that was younger was sick for a day, just mildly. But I haven't seen any research on that, which maybe shows that since you're mostly protected, you're more likely to have side effects from the first injection on the Moderna. And the second one is actually milder for people who are older, maybe because they already had the reaction from the first injection.
well, I haven't heard anybody who's been seriously hurt, but people
No.
who I've seen have complained. Were you in Alaska when you got these injections?
Yes. So Alaska is number one as far as the injection rate.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is because there's been a lot of vaccines shipped to Alaska, and it's a lower populated state.
Right. And it seems to be a very difficult place to immunize the population because of
Yeah, a lot of people in the rural areas there's no medical, so I think they decided to prioritize getting the vaccine out to those rural areas.
A drip down from Alaska to Oregon. We're right below you, so gravity ought to carry it down to our state soon.
Yeah, I think it's just that there's way more people in Oregon, so they've got to realize that you need a little more vaccine there.
Well, I think we have a little more disorganization than a lot of states do.
Yeah.
But of course, you still have the conspiracy theorists who say, "Oh, I'm not going to get a vaccine. I don't even believe in it." And I just wonder, would it take them dying to get them to believe it, or what?
We don't want to get into politics, Tom.
I know, it's just, let's not go there, because it's just, the thing is, people should just be respectful, just like we should be pro-choice, meaning pro-choice with the vaccine. If people want to get it, they can get it. If they don't, we can respect people. And that's what I want to say on that, because people keep asking me and I don't want to broach that. But anyway, thank you so much, Dr. McDougall.
Well, it was fun for us, and thanks for bringing on some people that have been through the program so we could help explain to folks what an amazing tool that we have. And thank goodness for COVID-19. I hate to say it, but if you look back and you say, well, you don't know anybody that was really benefited. Well, you do. You know the McDougalls and their followers because of the switch to this internet thing. The same thing with you, AJ. I mean, wow, what a life you have now.
I know. I got a whole new job out of this, and I'm loving it because I get to talk to people like you and Mary and Ruth Hydrix and people all over the world that I never would have met if I kept traveling. And like you, I don't think I'll ever go, vaccine or no vaccine, I don't think I'll go back to traveling again.
No. We have no desire to get into one of those things. What are they called? Airplanes?
And you used to fly airplanes.
Yeah, both Mary and I are pilots and very accomplished pilots. So yeah, we used to do that. We used to do a lot of things, and we try not to look back anymore and think of all the fun things, but we've had an amazing life, AJ. Very, 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 very fortunate people. And
Well, then let's talk about that. When you come back on my birthday, let's just make it fun. Let's not talk COVID
All right.
potatoes. Let's just talk McDougal's. Let's just talk fun stuff, memories from your life. You know, maybe bring the grandkids. Let's just have some fun. How's that?
Okay, great.
Yeah, well, that'd be okay. I don't know whether the audience will be that excited about it, but we can. Maybe we should.
Guys, put in the chat if you'd be excited just to have like a fireside chat with Dr. John McDougall and Mary. Put it in the chat and let me know. Or do you want him to answer the same question over and over? Eat starch.
Yeah, eat starch. That's all I got to say is eat starch. Don't eat animals. Don't eat oils. Eat starch, and that's all you got to know.
That's a problem. It's too simple. It's too simple.
And it doesn't cost anything either. So there's no real way to have an avenue for promotion. See, if you have a revenue stream, then you can buy ads and like I see all these different programs on cable news advertising medical treatments and diets and so on. Well, these people are full of gimmicks, and they would never be able to advertise something as simple as a potato to cure the problems. We cure rheumatoid arthritis in virtually 100% of the cases. MS, we stop MS. Heart disease is easily reversible, but it takes following something that costs you nothing. It's not sexy either. It's not Star Wars medicine. It's just food.
It really bothers me when I see the ads come on for all these drugs that take care of psoriasis and irritable bowel syndrome, and I think, no, just eat a potato. Yeah. And they spend so much money, and there's so many of them.
Yeah. And they give you a little bit of truth. This particular drug quiets down the immune system and makes the pain of psoriasis and arthritis decreased. And then they go on for another minute and a half and tell you all the things that could happen to you by taking their drug. And then they go on to tell you if you can't afford it because it costs $50,000 a year just for the drug, we'll help you pay for it. So how could you resist by taking their wonderful drug? They're so benevolent. They'll even pay for it for people who can't afford it. I bet that doesn't amount to much as far as their balance sheet at the end. Their profit margins go. I bet they don't give very many of their products away. Anyway, these are food. These are caused by food, which is something, again, that people have a hard time seeing. But folks like Tom and Shelley and you and I and folks that have discovered this, we never look back at another approach. We never try and figure out, just like once you understand what I'm trying to share with you, you understand that New York Times article I showed you at the beginning of the presentation. It's absolutely clear why we have that paradox, why countries that have, crowded populations and should have a lot of COVID, they don't, because they still eat a primarily starch-based diet in Africa and Asia. But as these African and Asians move to the United States, what happens? The Africans have a higher rate. People of color have a higher rate of getting COVID and hospital. You hear that all day long on the news. And then what do they blame it on? Well, opportunity, crowding, et cetera. Well, I'll tell you, they eat the worst diet. Can't tell you the number of people who've come up to me after a lecture, and I'll talk about the difference in diets of different racial groups and economic substrata. They'll come up to me and say, you have no idea how bad the people in my church eat. People of similar color. Oh, you have no idea. You're underestimating how many pickles pig feet we eat at a meal. Or, whatever. I don't want to pick on any particular, did I identify any group for any racial group?
No.
Thank goodness. So I don't want to get into this.
Mary, somebody wrote in the chat, somebody named Sherry, I know Sherry, but Sherry wrote, have you ever seen Mary McDougall in a bathing suit? Beautiful, like a fashion model, my idol.
Oh, well, thank you.
We could do a whole hour on how you still have love and romance in their 70s.
Yeah, please do. I can use that. I'm only in my 60s and I could really use that.
Yeah, well, I want to tell you, the guy who said that it goes away when you get older wasn't talking to me. And I'm not going to go details, but we still have a very enjoyable life together, to say the least.
Oh, you guys are great. Really. We appreciate you so much. And people say, yes, when you come back, we can have the fireside chat and just talk about some fun stuff.
Talk about personal things, unless people would.
Well, I think because, how many times can you say the same thing? Just eat a damn potato.
Well, Well, we'd love to tell you some of the wonderful things that have happened to us in life. As I say, we've been very blessed. And we've had our ups and downs. We've had a few things happen, like you probably would list the fires of October 2017 as a real negative. Well, it was, except, we ended up having some real positive things come out of it.
Yeah.
We now live in a nice condo in Portland, and I don't know, we'd have to think about a few other positive things. We lost everything. Yeah, pretty much.
But not each other. The most important thing.
Right.
And that was only by about 3 minutes, or otherwise we'd been dead.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're not. So we'll see you back on March 22nd, and we'll continue the conversation.
Is
Okay,
that the date
great.
that we are you the guest, March 22nd?
Yeah, it's just because it's my birthday, so I got to pick whoever I wanted.
Good, good. And
Picked you.
you're going to meet with Heather before that?
Am I going to what with Heather?
You say you're going to meet with Heather before that?
Well, no, I mean, she could come on too. It's her birthday too.
All right.
Oh, that's
Well,
right.
I'm sure she'd be welcome.
Absolutely. Maybe we'll have everybody on. I've been contacting Craig. He won't come on. I've asked him for a year.
No, he's a professor at OHSU. He's a medical doctor and professor at the university. So he has a bit of I don't think it would hurt your reputation at all by coming on your show. But, he's kind of distanced himself a little bit from what we're doing, which is good. He's his own man. He's been very successful at the university.
What about your other son? I've never met him. Would he come on that day? I've never met him.
Well, he works for a subsidiary of Chevron, and they make additives. Very successful young man. And that's another thing that we would love to talk about is our children. We have very successful children.
Well, let's do it. I'm going to invite them all. I'll talk about
You know what, AJ? It wasn't by accident. The amount of time that Mary and I put in to making sure those kids are well-rounded kids was our primary goal in life, is to make sure that they would be successful in life when they got to be adults. And I can't think of a better example than Heather. Yes, she's, I told Heather a year and a half ago or so on that not only do I want this McDougall program to be a source of income for her and her family, which it has been for more than a decade, but I wanted her to preserve my reputation. And believe it or not, maybe I'll be around in 20 years, but I ain't going to be around in 30. So considering that planet Earth survives, I need to keep my reputation intact. I would like people to say nice things about us 100 years from now.
Nice. Well, people here are saying nice things about you. But you've always said you'd rather be hated than ignored.
Don't ignore me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'll take off all my clothes and I'll put carrots in my ears if that's what it takes to listen.
Yeah, but then I have to click the box that says it's not suitable for children. So
Oh, yeah.
don't make me do that. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. McDougall and Mary. Thank you so much to Shelley and Thomas and Pamela for coming on and sharing their success stories with us. And the link is in the chat. If you want to join the next program, it starts April 9th at this discounted rate. So thanks so much for watching another episode.
Thanks, Pamela. Thanks, Shelley. Thanks, Tom. We remember you well,
thank you.
and we look forward to our follow-up visits with you.
Great. So make sure you come back on March 22nd when I'll be with the McDougalls again. And do come back tomorrow when my guest is Dr. Howard Jacobson. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, AJ.
Okay,
Thank you,
bye-bye.
AJ.